Hello and welcome. This is Vivica Williams and you're watching Head to Head on UATV. Starting in 2014, the Eastern Ukrainian Center for Civic Initiatives has been documenting human rights violations committed as a result of the war in Eastern Ukraine. The employees of the center underwent a number of specialized trainings and learned how to collect, process, and store this kind of data. To talk more about the center's work, we're joined in the studio by Alina Bodnar, Project Manager at the Eastern Ukrainian Center for Civic Initiatives. Hello, and thank you for coming with us today.
Hello, glad to see you.
Can you tell us what are some of the focuses at this moment for the center?
Yes, so if previously we were mainly focusing for collecting data and processing it and making it ready for court, hearing and filing cases, now we are shifting our attention a little bit to peacebuilding direction. So it means that we are now using the stories that we are collecting also to kind of raise awareness about the issues of Donbass for the whole Ukraine and also abroad. Among the directions that we are also having, like the main areas of our focus are gender-based violence, also involvement of children into armed conflict, and also illegal detention, which is a very widespread phenomena in Donbass.
Yes. And you mentioned a lot of this from what I've learned about the center. A lot of the information you collect is from eyewitnesses or people involved. So how do you find and maybe protect the witnesses?
The reason is that Eastern Ukrainian Center for Civic Initiatives itself was founded in Luhansk, and now because of the conflict it has relocated to Kyiv. Same as 16 other organizations that form Coalition Justice for Peace in Donbass that have joined their efforts to collect this information. And so because of this, because of our origin from Eastern Ukraine, first of all, it's like a network of NGOs. And secondly, is that we know people and people know people. And it's like, you know, you just have it like this because of human connections. That's how we find people, because there is this trust, right? And how we store this information. Well, we have a secure database on human rights violations, and we keep on working on it and developing it and input more information in the database so that at a certain point of time we can use it for courts, especially for International Criminal Court in Hague. This database is protected with several I would say, shields of protection, and also our server is outside of Ukraine.
So tell me about some of the court cases that you have been able to present data.
As of now, we haven't filed any case for international courts, but in Ukraine, for instance, there is an issue with courts and with judges, especially with the cases where someone from a high rank so to say, state servants is involved, and judges are afraid to actually voice their decision. That's why the cases are being reviewed for years. And our lawyers try to help the witnesses and victims of human rights violations to really make it faster. And for instance, one of the cases is that one person could not receive their pension, and we help with that. Or another case is that one person couldn't prove that her husband is dead because of the conflict, and therefore she could not receive the state social benefits because of that. So in this case we help.
So then there's a lot of work also with pensions. And if we turn back to, we know that women suffer quite a lot when it comes in warfare with gender-based violence. So what are some of the issues you're working on with this, and how are you trying to tackle this human rights violations?
Recently we have published a report called War Without Rules, Gender-Based Violence in the Course of War in Eastern Ukraine. Before that, starting from 2014, we started to collect information mainly from those former detainees who were liberated. And from them, we came to know that in these places of illegal detentions, and there are more than 70 places like this in Donetsk and Luhansk Oblast, many people suffered from gender-based or sexual violence. And what's interesting, almost equally, men and women. It's very hard to get this information from people because they are very unwilling to speak about that. It's very hard for them to recollect all this information. But still, we think that it's important to keep this information somewhere secured, so that at a certain point of time it will become, real, so that we can really file this case to the court.
This is definitely an issue that's very sensitive, especially, as you were saying, with male and female sexual violence in the course of detention. It's about power and not so much about sex. And what are some of the other issues you're seeing with detainees and detention centers?
First of all, it's inhumane treatment. It's that people didn't get food or water, or they were held in facilities that were not really meant to, to have people inside for a long time, especially. So normally it would be basements, or it would be, I don't know, maybe pits somewhere in the ground. So also tortures. So people were tortured and sometimes murdered. So those are really grave human rights violations, and sometimes even war crimes. Although the conflict is not considered as war, as of now internationally, I mean, but still, history shows, especially the Western Balkan history shows, that we should really collect this information, even though it's painful at times, and even though people are not willing to share. Still, over time, memory fades about these events, so we have to do this.
This is definitely very important work, as you said, to keep these databases, to collect them now. And you talked a bit about looking at what might happen after peace. So are you working on any issues of reconciliation or discussing the aftermath of this conflict?
We've been also undergoing a series of training on peacebuilding and reconciliation, but the reason is that we are now in the state of war, and some experts say that it's fairly too early to start even speaking about the conflict and peace. But for us, among us, we decided that it's important, like the first step to actually bring us closer to peace is to just spread the truth, or be as objective, as impartial as only possible. That's why we try to collect information from both sides and show that, okay, Ukrainian side was also not always right. So this way we try to raise awareness also for the people who live in Western Ukraine, for instance, who are really far from the conflict, and it seems like they live a different life. So in our work we also try to do research and then to present the results in the form of a book or a movie, and also go with that to Western Ukraine, to, I don't know, Northern or Southern Ukraine, to also share this information and speak with people there.
Okay, wonderful, excellent. And there's also this idea, this concept of justice restoration that you're working with. Can you tell us, what is this concept and how is this panning out?
So justice restoration is considered as a prerequisite of peace, because even if we ask people, if we speak with people who give us their information during the time of interview, people also want their perpetrators to be punished, because otherwise they say, okay, so just imagine peace happens now. What are we going to do? All these people who used to torture someone, to kill someone, to rape someone will be among us. So how is that possible? How can be peace possible if they are still, like free? They are just just among us, and they can continue doing what they used to do. So.
And so what's the work being done with this? How are you trying to answer this?
So first of all, it's the collection of information. Secondly, for that we use semi-conducted interviews. We have a set of prepared questions that are easy to use in any court afterwards. And when we process information, for instance, in the database, we have different types of entities. So it can be a perpetrator, it can be a victim, it can be an episode or an event that happened, or it can be several events related to one person. And then we can build links or connections between the perpetrator and different cases and different people. And that's how we build this base of evidence, so that later on it can be shown that, okay, this person actually was involved in several crimes, not only this one, and therefore he or she deserves to be punished. But as of now, we see that it will take years to actually achieve that.
Well, this is great starting now and not waiting to the end of the conflict. As you said, that's too late to start this type of data collection. What can people do to assist you, or is there a need for people who'd like to be involved in assisting this type of project?
I would only say that people should encourage others who suffered or who witnessed human rights violations in the course of war in Donbass to actually share this information, to take it out of them and to actually keep it somewhere. They can of course go to state authorities and to share with them, or they can choose us and also get free legal assistance if they need one. So it's just because over time, as I said, memory will fade, and all these episodes, it's really important to keep them as detailed as possible to further on just use this information and get the criminals into jails.
Thank you so much for being with us today and giving us such valuable information and the amazing work that your center is doing.
Thank you.
Today we spoke with Alina Bodnar, Project Manager of the Eastern Ukrainian Center for Civic Initiatives. Thank you for watching and stay tuned for more.